Okay, I am at ETSI Security Conference and I'm with Matjaz Demsar from Siemens to talk about his talk on ICS4ICS. Thank you so much for joining me, Matjaz. Could you start please just by introducing yourself and your background in security a little bit?
Thank you for the invitation to this interview. Well, about my background, I might say it was a bit coincidental because when I joined Siemens, our first idea was, because I'm in customer services, our first idea was to set up a business for, let's say, digital transformation services, services like industrial cloud, industrial edge. And after a really short while, we discovered that there was a big lack of, let's say, security overall and OT network awareness, which made us quite quickly to reconsider the approach. And here I am. I mean, I started, let's say, building up the awareness by attending, let's say, ISA events, by getting certifications. I have several certifications on the 62443 standard. And we were able to, because of our experience from prior, let's say, from prior experience, we were able to build up the services quite easily. And here we are now. I mean, we're trying to raise awareness overall, not just within our customer base, but also in the wider arena, so to speak.
Yeah, and your talk this week is on ICS4ICS, which I will ask you a bit further about in a minute. But just to start with, you kind of mentioned it briefly now, but in terms of cyber incidents and critical infrastructure, what have been the issues with responses, do you feel?
Well, now this is strictly from my personal opinion. I'm not here to speak for the company, but the responses have always been very improvised. In terms of when something wrong happens, someone notices, and then it goes. I think the incident management runs through experience. So who do you call, who do you contact, and who do you involve? But when you're doing it like this, it's very impro league. Yeah, I mean that was the experience so far. There was no real organization, and regardless of the size of the company, there is also no framework. And we keep getting questions because when we're doing the services part, we try to build the services on the recommendations from the ICS4ICS, and customers are sometimes asking us, well, is this the recommended way? And all we can say is, well, it's the best way so far, because I think that's the furthest anyone came with standardization. So to have some procedures, some concrete ways to implement things and to check them. And there is nothing actually related to the response. There's some general recommendations, some recommendations from standards like ISO 27035, which deal only with information security. There is no physical cybersecurity or the OT cybersecurity in there. So that is quite a...
Yeah, and that's something you have experience with, right? Kind of looking at from the IT and the OT side, the responses to cyber threats.
Yeah, I mean, experience, if you discuss experience, I have it mostly from the IT side. But it was a while ago when I was in one of my previous positions. I was working in a food and bev company, and we were, I think that was 14 years ago, when we started dealing with IT and OT convergence, with a meeting of both worlds. And what does it mean for the OT people, so for the automation guys, to have some sense of security, and what does it mean for the IT people to have this giant mess of not really IT, of everything, and how to deal with that. That was a revelation back then as well, but we managed to get a grip on everything, and everybody was satisfied in the end. That was the best part of it.
And is that still a challenge today, kind of combining those two areas?
Yeah, extremely. I have to say we were very early with our experience, but today what we meet usually is a situation where you have the IT personnel looking at things from their perspective, and the OT personnel looking at things from their perspective. And sometimes I feel like I'm a moderator of sorts, like a facilitator of the debate or the argument. I mean, sometimes this is also what happens.
Yeah. Okay, and now on to what you were talking about this week. Could you please introduce the ICS4ICS and kind of what it is and how it can help this?
Yeah, sure. ICS4ICS was concocted as a program that was based on the incident command system that's already in place in the United States and in some other countries worldwide. And we can say it's quite mature because it's over 50 years old. And what it does, or what it doesn't do, is so far, up to 2 years ago, there was no way to deal with cyber incidents.
Okay.
So we have all these natural disasters, man-made disasters that we were handling using the incident command system, but the cyber, disregarding the importance of critical infrastructure, cyber was never in there. But it's quite natural to just use the framework as it is, the program, and provide for some measures to also cover the cyber threats or cyber incidents in the critical infrastructure. So that was, I think it was quite natural for people to come up with this idea. At least now, looking backwards, of course, everybody can be smart and backwards visionary, but it was somehow a natural development that somebody came up with the idea.
Okay, and can you just briefly explain for people who might not know kind of what it is basically and how you use it? Okay,
it's an adaptation of the existing incident command system, which introduces the planning P process. So there is this well-established process that uses documented steps, that uses documentation forms, which are also standardized for tracking. So first providing the initial response to the incident, all the way from the identification itself to the, let's say, first mitigation steps, and then moves into this, let's say, a cyclic phase. It's a cycle that repeats based on the operational period, which can be 6 hours for critical incidents, or perhaps 12 or even 24 hours. But during this cycle, a sequence of steps takes place that's well documented, and each phase uses predefined inputs, and it's performed by a predefined team. So everybody has their responsibility, their role. And speaking of roles, there's also credentialing involved. So that's also one of the benefits of the incident command system, because the credentialing process is already there. It's through FEMA's program called One Responder. So people can get credentialed for the knowledge, which also means, if we take a look at it, we're able to establish roles, and we know who has the qualifications for each role. So the response, I think the response in the end is quite improved in terms of time needed.
Yeah, it's giving it more of a structure, more clear steps for people to follow, rather, as you were saying, than just going off experience. Which, as we see, every day, new kinds of attacks, new kinds of threats, I would imagine that's quite useful. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, perhaps somebody could think, okay, we have some people in organizational roles. What about the technical side? And that's exactly what the ICS4ICS covers. You're able to introduce a structure that will take care of the organization, of the incident management. And then for the technical side, you can use the teams that are available, people that are available. But I think what's really beautiful about it is they're able to focus on their role. So if you're a technician, if you're an analyst, you will analyze. If you're a communication specialist, you will prepare the communication for the media, for the government. Or if you're a financial specialist, you will prepare some risk assessment or the first estimate of the damages, which, if we take a look at it, it's marvelous.
So it really includes every aspect of a cyber incident or a disaster, as you were saying. Yeah.
I mean, so far, the system has only been used. The exercise was performed on a Type 3 incident. So this means one organization with one asset. And we're working on having exercises for Type 2 incidents, which mean single organization, multiple assets or multiple sites. So we're working on the scalability. I mean, it's not... So far, we have no experience on handling, let's say, Type 1 incident, which is like a national or regional disaster. But again, the incident command system provides for scalability. So we know, based on the framework or the program, what we would need if it would be a natural disaster, a cybersecurity disaster, we could at least come up with necessary roles, let's say, much easier than it would be to improvise.
Yeah. I'm afraid we're kind of coming to the end of our time, but I'd love to get your final thoughts on kind of the future of this and where people can kind of find out more information if they are interested.
Well, I would definitely point everyone to our website. It's not really hidden, so it can easily be found. It's hosted on GSA, so the Global Cybersecurity Alliance webpage, and I think that will be the starting point. The resources are there. Information about joining the program. We're really welcoming new members. We're trying to spread the word. So the website, I think, would be the best source of initial information.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much, Matjaz. Thank you for joining me and explaining a bit more about ICS4ICS.
Thank you for having me.